All right, guys. Good evening. Good evening. We are going to be live here in just a moment with you. I just want to make sure that we're up and running okay, and making sure all of our issues are working
Is this
properly.
gonna be
Yes, it needs to be somewhere where it can hear you.
Okay, because it'll be right there in my view.
Okay. So just bear with me just a minute, friends. I need to make sure that we're seeing you okay. So let's see here, get us to our channel. Okay. Yep, we are live.
Okay, Sister Brenda will be our moderator, and so is Elizabeth.
We're seeing you okay. Doing fine. Sister Brenda, if you can send me a message in there real quick. Because I am looking for you. I know which one you are. I just got to find you.
Okay, Sister Brenda will be our moderator, and so is Elizabeth. We're seeing you
okay. And I know Sister Brenda is blind something. How's everybody doing tonight anyway? I hope y'all are all doing great. I'm going to get to moderate a little bit because I'll let my wife do all the talking, seeing as I did all the
You need to
talking a
pay
while ago.
attention to what I speak.
Do I have to pay attention?
Yes.
If I have to pay attention, you can give a thumbs up. If I don't have to pay attention, you can give it. Well, they don't let you do a thumbs down, do you? So.
It's okay.
Is there a cat in the box?
Yeah, it's alright. Just kind of push
Yeah,
her
just drag her down the hallway. Shake her up a little
Sorry,
bit while
guys,
you go.
we have this cat in a box here.
Instead of a cat in a hat, we have the cat in the box. And all the other cats are chasing the box right now. Alright, let's see there.
Somebody broke tooth. Oh no.
I did, yes. 2 of them. Let's see. Well, let me do this too.
Turn up the volume.
Alright, let me see. Alright, tell me if that's going to work for you guys. I don't know if it does or does not.
Let me bring it closer maybe.
Yeah, that's why I knew where to put it at, but move your mouse to the right and then and do like that. Alright, we got Elizabeth in.
Okay, Cynthia.
Let me see. It's not allowing me.
Somebody hears us fine. Sound is good. Taking notes.
Okay. I was hoping, I'll just have to look for Brenda later. And
I sent her text.
by the way, when you're doing
She says there is no
comments-
live comment showing on her Kindle.
Well, of course, it's a Kindle. It's not going to show up on a Kindle.
No?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
not to my knowledge.
I am
So-
sorry, Sister Brenda.
All right, so all right, we'll drop that out of there. So myself and Elizabeth will moderate for now. Anyway, guys, listen, we will. I do need to slow it down. Let me see if I can slow it down real quick. Let me have to open up a different window to do it. Let me try it like this. Okay. Let's go to the live. Okay. I do need to slow it down. Let me see if I can slow it down real quick. Let's see here now. I'm not as familiar with all these things here.
Do you guys know how to slow it down for moderators?
Let's see.
Maybe they're writing to you what to do.
Takes a little bit of time for people to
Oh
hear
yeah,
us.
sister is there. Sister Brenda, right there. Blonde,
There we go.
Blondie.
Whoop, messed up. I'm not as familiar with all these things here.
Do you guys
All
know
right,
how to
Brenda,
slow
you are
it
now
down
armed and
for
dangerous.
moderators?
Boy, howdy. I feel sorry for the chat room now.
Maybe they're writing to you what to do.
Just kidding. Takes a little bit of time for people to
Oh
hear
yeah,
us.
sister is there. Sister Brenda, right there.
Let's see there. I don't see myself. Elizabeth, I know you had asked me if we could slow the
Hi,
chat
Paul.
room down a little bit, and I do know there's a way to do that.
All right,
But I don't know how to do it. Maybe you girls can figure it out.
We
from
are
your end.
married 17 years. I don't remember.
Yeah, a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's some conspiracy people say that we're not.
We are married.
So yeah, we're
for
married.
sure.
I don't
So
see myself.
and
Elizabeth, I know you had asked me if we could
The-
Thank you. Good to see you
I do
too.
know there's a way to do that.
Okay.
I mean, good to see your
But
comment.
I don't know how to do it. Maybe you
Let's
girls can
see.
figure it out.
We are
from your end.
married 17 years. I don't remember.
Yeah, a long time.
oh well. All right, I don't see that in there. So we're gonna. All right, I'm gonna close this part out so that we can get back focused on what we're gonna do here tonight. And let's see. We're gonna start off on Chuck Baldwin's page there.
Yeah, we will. But first, I would like to talk to audience.
Okay, you go right ahead.
Yeah, we had great dinner tonight. We had Whole Foods dinner. We had baked potato and a
Well,
bunch of roasted vegetables
No,
and
we had half foods dinner.
half foods.
Yeah, because Whole Foods doesn't have anything whole. It's half.
It's half.
Yeah, because some of it has got no seeds in it, and that's considered a half a food.
Right. Well, we had food, and that's great. And
Yes.
so that was a blessing that we could have nice dinner. And we have been really
It was good though.
we have been so distraught over situation in Israel that has kind of moved me to come back, even though I have personal situation in life that's quite difficult. But I can't stay away now. This is more than important. This is kind of life and death issue here, and I'll explain to you why. What's happening in Israel. But what is truly worrisome is actually what's happening in America. And it is the Zionist Christianity. That's what's worrisome because, and I will make some really bold statements. I am known for bold statements. Steve tells me, well, you make these bold statements and then I have to take it off the
Yeah.
YouTube. And I'm like, well, I just can't help it. That's the way I am. And this is my bold statement. Zionist Christianity is going to bring complete destruction to United States. They are walking right into the trap. They're going to cause death of millions. And they are outright lying about God. They're blaspheming God. And these are my strong and bold statements. So when I'm talking tonight and I will say you, just know that most of us here are non-Zionists, and those particular words are not toward you, but they will be toward Zionist Christians. And the reason I'm so strong is because I was one of them myself. We were Zionists.
Very hardcore Zionists.
But there is no excuse once you are shown the proofs, when you are shown facts, and when you sit down and you examine the scriptures without the Zionist lens. Once you do that, I'm fine.
I'm in trouble. I closed her Bible. I'm very
It's okay.
sorry.
It's all right.
The part, just to quickly, I'll throw this in here. Pro-Zionist, both the books that I wrote.
Yes. That's why we are not selling
I shared
them.
with
but
them. Well, there's still, people can still buy them. I don't have a way to stop that part there. But you know, in a way, I will see if I can't put a stop on publication, mainly on the first one. That one's very pro-Zionist. This one here has just a lot of historical information in it that's it needs to be rewritten, but I'm working on the third book
Yes.
to correct book 1
Yes,
and book 2.
yes, and I am encouraging him and putting his attention back where it needs to be as far as, Steve, nothing is more important than you fixing those books right now. So, anyway, where was I?
Hallelujah.
I was giving
I'm
a
in
hard
trouble.
time.
You have no idea. My wife, if I cut her off, I'll get beat
That's
up.
because I'm getting
She
old.
says, I'll lose my train of thought. No, you ain't getting old.
I'm getting old and I lose my train of thought.
Listen, when
and,
your teeth all start falling out, then you can talk about getting old. Until then, Mr. Haney says you're not getting old.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay, so we were Zionists, and there is a certain amount of humility and humbleness that person needs to sit down and examine everything. And if Zionist Christians are told specifically, look, you are wrong, there is a problem, we are brothers and sisters here, and we are against each other because of the doctrines, it is a complete necessity that we both sit down and examine Bible without Zionist lens, and if we are found guilty, then we have to admit it, we have to come out and repent and fix it. And this is what is required of us as Christians. And this is what I'm asking all Zionist Christians, and I'm asking Zionist pastors who were our friends. I am seriously asking them to sit down and take the Zionist glasses out, examine scriptures, especially the New Testament, and let us focus on the New Testament, because that's the important covenant that we are under, is the new covenant. And let's see if we could debate each other and come to some sort of conclusions, because this nation is going down, and it is because we Christians have the power to stop it. We are the only ones who have the power to stop all of this bloodshed and all of the future bloodshed, and Noahide laws from even happening in here and around the world. And we're not going to stop this because of the Zionist Christians.
Can I throw a thought in there?
Sure.
A couple of things. One, the teaching I just uploaded a little earlier, a couple hours before we came on the air tonight. This is probably one of the best ones I've done. I have over the last several years have done quite a few teachings, and I need to create a playlist for you on Israeli News Live so that you can begin to really go back and examine the scriptures on that. But especially this one, because in the book of Romans chapter 11, the grafting of the branch and stuff like that, or regrafting of the natural branches, amazing insight revelation on that issue there. So you definitely need to go listen to that video. And I know it's lengthy, it's over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes, but it's worth every minute. I deal with Hosea, Zechariah, Romans chapter 11, prophecy there, a little bit of Joseph as well, get into some of that there, and really help kind of fix these problems.
Yes, because in Zionist Christianity, which is main 99% of Christianity, you are going to be bombarded with Bible scriptures, putting stuff into the future. Joseph and Jews are all going to come to see Joseph, Jesus, and they're going to repent. They're going to look upon him whom they pierced. You're going to be bombarded with all of this,
right.
And then it looks like it's true. However, when you examine it truly without Zionist lens that was put on those prophecies, you will find out that those prophecies were completely fulfilled, and there's completely no reason to support
let me say this as
state
well.
of Israel.
Let me say this as well. Chuck Baldwin, I've known Chuck, a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, here in Northwest Florida, had Crossroad Baptist Church there. He was a minister there for 35 years. And Chuck came, he was a very pro-Zionist minister.
For a long time, yes.
His whole life.
Yes.
Until he said, and this happened about 7-8 years ago, he started realizing, or longer than that, maybe 10 years ago now. He said something just kept gnawing at his heart. He knew something was wrong and he didn't know what it was, and he just went into prayer about it. That's what brought him out of Zionism. I guess about 7 years ago is when we came out, or began to come out. And what's interesting is neither and me never even looking at Chuck's teachings on that. We knew each other. We very dear friends of ours that are mutual friends, and that's why I've known Chuck all these years. Is because we have a mutual family friend together, and so we've crossed, our paths have crossed as a result of that. And then of course we've got into ministry. He's been on with us several times here, but when he teaches on the biblical theology of this subject of the fulfillment of prophecy, Chuck is spot on.
Yes.
And so I really, if you want to get a good solid biblical teaching, Chuck is definitely really an incredible teacher that I would encourage you to listen to.
We are going to leave you with this link, and let me start a little bit. Press play. We interviewed Chuck. Steve did. I interviewed him too, but this particular video will be Steve interviewing Chuck, where he's speaking his own testimony, how he came out as a Zionist pastor for so long. He came out of that false teaching based only and simply by being filled with Holy Spirit and asking the Spirit to reveal to him the truth.
I didn't even know that was the video you had up. I didn't even know Chuck had the video on his platform. That's funny.
Your introduction's got to be remade, Steve, because it's very
that's an old introduction.
flashing,
And you cannot
right?
change that. That's the way it is.
We need new.
We have a
Jesus says, I'm making all
Shalom
things.
Chavrim, I'm Steven Ben-Nun. You are watching Israeli News Live, and today we have by phone here Dr. Chuck Baldwin, and Dr. Chuck Baldwin with ChuckBaldwinLive.com, also with the Liberty Fellowship, mt.com. And Dr. Baldwin, I had actually met him years ago, just
I was
passing
young
acquaintance there, but I remember
Yes.
his days
Can
at
I
Crossroad
move
Yeah,
Baptist.
it?
you
Can I
can
move
fast
it?
forward.
Oh.
I
so
even had
included.
teeth.
Very much.
You still have
the
teeth.
subject of modern Israel and its supposed relationship to the Bible. Something was not right in my spirit. It was just like there was something there that wouldn't set well, and I didn't know what it was. It wasn't anything dramatic. It was just a gnawing feeling in my soul that something wasn't right. And it happened every single time that I would bring up the subject, even in passing. And so, thankfully, I've been in the ministry long enough, and I've been a Christian long enough to be able to know when the Holy Spirit is trying to speak to my heart. And so I had to sit back and, in prayer and meditation with the Lord, and say, well, what is this? What is my feeling here? What is it that I need to do? And very clearly, the Holy Spirit led me to study the subject. And when I say study the subject, it's not like I hadn't studied it before. Good grief, I'd been trained in it in college. I'd studied it all my life, but I studied it from one point of view, from one perspective. All of the verses of the Bible that I used were used as a justification for what I believed. I never searched the Bible independently and objectively for myself to discover the truth, but I used the Scripture to try to justify what I was taught and what I believed. And I tell you, Steve, there's a lot of Christians that do that. They don't study the Bible objectively to find truth. They study the Bible to try and justify something they already believe, something that somebody else has taught them.
Can
so
I
now they've
comment
got
on
to
this?
justify
Yes.
what they believe, and they use
Okay, have
scriptures
this. Okay.
to justify.
All right, so Chuck is explaining here how Christians just basically parrot everything. I'm sorry, my dog is bugging me here. Ariella,
I'll get her out.
can you take care of the dog? Thank you.
Charcoal, go on.
Yeah, charcoal, please. Please, just.
She wants to be seen on camera.
Yeah, she does. Okay, well, anyway. Well, what he's explaining, and he will be explaining, and we highly encourage you to re-listen to his testimony on this video, is that Christians just parrot whatever they hear from pastors in churches or tele-evangelists or whatever seems to be so very popular. That's what's the thing that's going, that was the main theology, and they're not really truly thinking. Well, Jesus at the time of Christ, the famous or the going theology was the theology of the Pharisees. Okay, and then he came in with completely revolutionary, brand new teaching. And he did say that wide is the road and many are going to go to destruction, but very narrow is the road to salvation. And this is where we are now. There is a very wide road of Zionist Christianity, huge. This is what you hear everywhere. This is what's famous. This is if you're not on their side, you are a heretic, right? And Jesus was called a heretic as well. But we are responsible to truly look at our theology and our teachings in churches. And Chuck is going to mention in his testimony there a little bit of a history that this theology, the Schofield theology, came into the United States Christianity and Western Christianity at the end of 19th century, early 20th century. It was very pre-planned. It was an invasion of Christianity, or should I say, it was infiltration of Christianity by men who were friends with rabbis. And they were in men's club together. And it was all pre-planned, how they're going to infiltrate Christianity through prophecies, how they're going to put them in a future. Because if you examine Christian history throughout 2,000 years, you will see that majority and the main doctrinal theology was not Zionistic, and it was not futuristic at all. This is a brand new thing. It's a cult. That's what it is. It's a cult. So we are infiltrated. We are invaded. And he says and explains in that testimony how it infiltrated theological institutes, schools for the pastors. They started to educate new pastors in Zionist, futuristic, dispensational theology. So that way, every generation of new pastors will come out, and that's how they're going to infiltrate the churches. And that's why you have this monumental dispensational belief in the United States. And who it benefits? Who benefits? The state of Israel. When they created the state of Israel, they already started the infiltration of Christianity. They were preparing the field. So that way, they knew the ending. Okay, these people are very patient. They're not working in 5 years, 10 years. They are working in 100 years. They will prepare for 100 years up front. Okay, so this is what has happened, and Chuck is beautifully talking about these things. So I encourage you that you listen to his testimony. And he has a series about Israel, and I highly encourage that you purchase those series. I think it's DVDs, or I don't know how he's offering them right now.
He does have a DVD set where he spent time teaching this subject over a course of months there, and he put it together in a compilation. Mm-hmm. And Chuck's not a salesman. All right, I'll tell you straight up, he's not a salesman, but he does have it available. Let me just, I guess we can't see it there.
Well, they can go to his website, which is, I'm not sure what it is right now.
ChuckBaldwinLive.com, mm-hmm. I think.
He has a YouTube channel as well. No, it's, I told you I'm getting old.
It's okay.
Because I don't remember.
Here we go, ChuckBaldwinLive.com, just like I was saying. That's his website. And then on there, let's see.
Yes, it's an ethnic cleansing of Ilan Pappé, the book that he has right now on the Ilan Pappé ethnic cleansing of Palestine. I just past 2 days re-listened to many interviews of Ilan Pappé, who is a Israeli-based scholar, professor, and he is giving you an enormous amount of information, especially about the year of 1948, because history books in the state of Israel in schools are all falsified, and so is history falsified in the United States. And that's something that everybody personally is responsible for listening and researching for themselves.
Here it is right here, the Israel package. Let's see, 5 DVDs. Well, he's got 3 different sets of these. I would just get one and start with it, and then just go through it for yourself. I didn't know Chuck had done this over time there, but one 6 message, one 9 message, and one has 16 messages.
I would go for the 16.
Yeah, I'd go
quite
for the
honestly.
16. Exactly.
Yes.
You know, Chuck he's a teacher, and he's in depth. So, at any rate, there. And Chuck doesn't know we're talking about him right now, but.
No.
You know, it's just something that we wanted to do to share with
Yes.
you, mainly just to help educate you, because he's ahead of me on going through a lot of these scriptural things, and I know from time to time Chuck will upload videos that I do as well over on his site, which we appreciate that there, you know, especially when he feels that we're.
Okay, the
Hitting
next
it
thing
right
we
on.
want to point you to True News and one particular documentary, because I strongly feel that now with what's going on in Israel, it is extremely
USS Liberty, right?
important to revisit some of the historical happenings in United States, USS Liberty and 9/11. These are the 2 things that we need to be talking about in our own nation, especially because when this happened in Israel. Ariella, can you take care of dog?
Just get the plastic up, please. The USS Liberty,
Right.
Is one we can pretty much still talk about. That second one you named, we have to be careful when we're on live because they are now banning
okay.
people for saying it.
All right. But, you know, that's what Netanyahu said, that this is their event similar to what happened here. And to me, this was almost like a little subliminal message to let you know who causes all
Yes.
these events, you know.
Yes.
So, but yeah, USS Liberty, this is from True News. That's like a
September
little...
1/1. We'll just say like that. There,
I would
that's
like
what
to
it is.
ask these pastors, does, our friend Paul Begley, right? Does he know about USS Liberty? If he was asked or interviewed, could he actually describe what it is and what is the event? That's my question.
That would be a good question for him.
Right, and why don't you go challenge those pastors to talk to you about these events, okay?
So
Cover-up started immediately.
Want the truth to come out. What led up to it, what happened, and what's happened afterwards.
I think this was suppressed because our government, the president and his group, wanted the Liberty to be on the bottom of the ocean.
There's no question. It was a big cover-up from the top on down. Actual recall came from the president and McNamara.
And Lyndon Johnson came on. Said he didn't give a damn if the ship sunk. He would not embarrass his allies.
They didn't send us any aircraft because they weren't going to embarrass our ally Israel, our ally.
Coming from Admiral Martin's mouth to my...
When you hear these type of things, it makes me want to ask this question. Where does these pastors, what side are they on? Because on one side they scream they're patriotic. On the other side they are covering these things up.
Because here our soldiers that were there in the Middle East, the USS Liberty was just monitoring the different communications that were going on off the coast of Egypt when they were attacked. And this is American soldiers. And they were attacked by Israel. And unprovoked.
So is Israel capable of just doing stuff like that? Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's the whole problem. You know, just like I played in the broadcast when we first started the issue about Hamas, and I played President Bush's very comments on the anniversary of September 11, and where he was actually saying, he's quoting. He said, they told me when they were interviewing one of the terrorists, as they called it, the people that they had captured, he said, our guys, he said, we got valuable information. That's why he put valuable information. He said, they told us how that they had to place the explosives high enough in the building so the people on the top floors couldn't escape. Well, I don't think Bush was expecting that to come out of his mouth publicly, and somebody was smart enough to save it before they scrubbed all of it off the internet. Let's continue to play this.
Christians,
clip
the
here,
only
though.
people who can stop all the future bloodshed.
Go ahead.
Will
My
they?
ears. I loaded 4 planes with nuclear warheads.
We thought the Egyptians had attacked our ship. We launched 50-odd aircraft. Also,
He was to immediately launch nuclear warheads against Israel. The Dome of the Rock was eliminated.
You ever repeat one word about the USS Liberty and who did it to you, I'll guarantee you I'll see you in Leavenworth or worse. You know what worse means?
I know we were betrayed in so many ways that it's hard to count them.
The story of the Liberty is not a whodunit, it's a whydunit. Israel wants the territory which they call Greater Israel or the Promised Land or whatever it is, and it isn't, and wasn't the area that they occupied in 1967.
I do know he falsified the deck logs. He was hiding something at the request of the Court of Inquiry.
Look at that. Over 5,000 armored-piercing bullets in this ship.
I couldn't understand why they were cleaning the ship up. So much damage. What's the point?
the men would bring the body pieces up to me, and I tried to put them together to make a body out of them, sort of like a jigsaw puzzle.
Oh, the dream I have is the singular dream I have, is me being down in that room again, full of water with bodies floating by me, faceless bodies.
How come me? I'm here and Spicer's there. He's gone, dead, forgotten, ripped to pieces.
This is something that every American school child should know about, but they're being prevented from learning about it.
If we didn't transmit anything, if we were sunk, nobody would have known that the Israelis attacked the ship.
If my troops had known that the President of the United States was attempting to kill all of them, it might have been the first mutiny the Navy ever saw.
How many human lives have been changed or killed protecting the Zionist state of Israel?
Okay. Don't you think that should be in our history books?
I want to encourage every one of you to be able to get this documentary from Rick Wild's program there and watch it for yourself. I think the more, and if you're able to request, whatever church you go to, that should be requested that be played before the church there, so that the church body themselves can see what's going on. This has come a situation that has become so serious that we again are on the brink of World War III over the very situation that has happened in Israel. And of course, it's been made, and clearly Hamas did attack Israel. They did kill Israeli civilians. But when people, like I saw I think this morning in the news, they're talking about targeting the head leader of they say the mastermind of Hamas that was behind this attack. The mastermind, the snake's head, sits in the Knesset.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sit over in Gaza.
Right.
So if, the Israeli people now are rallying around because so many innocent Israelis were killed and wanting to bring about vengeance for what has happened to the Israelis. I understand that, I get that. But until you address where the snake's head really is at, and it's sitting in the Knesset, not over in Gaza. Gaza is just taking the orders. Hamas was taking the orders. When Netanyahu in 2019 stands before the Knesset and tells them, unless we fund Hamas, we're not going to prevent a Palestinian state. We could play for you the very video where he states to this family over in the West Bank when he was visiting them, Christians are useful idiots. Mm-hmm. This is Netanyahu's comment to you.
You Christians, and I'm talking to Zionist Christians, but unfortunately they're going to cause it for us, non-Zionist Christians. We are reserved either for death, for their purpose, or we are reserved to be their slaves. Because this is what Judaic theology is about. This is what redemption means. And if you truly knew what the difference is between doctrine of redemption for Jews and for Christians, they are like night and a day. They are far from each other as heaven from the earth. They don't come together. We do not match. There is no matching. There is no... that's not the same redemption that they are talking about. In their view, in their redemption, they're using prophecies of Old Testament to enrich themselves by the riches of the Gentiles. They are saying that they're going to get the whole earth. They are the chosen. They are the light of the world. They are going to distribute spirituality. And you know what it is for the nations, it's the Noahide laws. And they're going to get all the riches of the entire world and control technology. They already do that. So how can that be even compared to doctrine of redemption of Christianity, when it's about Christ dying for us on a cross and establishing spiritual kingdom, the kingdom that already is, that already exists. He's king already. He's not the king in the future. He's now the king. Now is the time of salvation, not in the future. So this is the two different doctrines, and that's why we do not, we don't mix together, as Zionist pastors are trying to persuade you that we do. But before we move on to our B part, Steven, I want to show one speech by another Holocaust survivor. It's a very poignant speech. It's about 12 minutes. So I hope you are ready to spend some time with us, because I want to watch his entire speech. I would like to speak a little bit about hypnosis, because we are under hypnosis. And unless you consciously come out of the hypnotic state, you will never understand what is happening.
Is this going to be
humans? No, that's that woman that died. Okay. Hold on. Keep clicking on these, and I will tell you which one. No. Yes. Okay. We are created in a certain way. As you know, Apostle Paul says that we have a body, soul, and a spirit. And we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. It's just how we are created. And in psychology, it is very well known fact that under hypnosis, you can use suggestions to the subconscious mind that will bypass your conscious mind And then your subconscious mind actually, that's how you form your belief. That's why you believe what you believe, is because you took in information and fed the information your subconscious mind. And even when we show you facts, or you are shown the actual facts, your conscious mind is not registering the facts. You just live by your subconscious mind belief because it was hypnotized into you. And this is why infiltration and certain phrases that they use work so well. And people do not have a tendency to go and examine things for themselves. They don't sit down and use critical thinking, and they don't do like, okay, I'm gonna take all lenses out, all of the churches out. I'm going to take all of the beliefs away. And I'm going honestly to ask Holy Spirit to examine this book and read it as if Zionist lens did not exist. And let's see what it speaks to me. Okay, so what are the phrases in a current hypnotic state? Israel are the chosen people. They're the chosen people. Jews are the light of the world. Christianity came out of Judaism. Jesus was a Pharisee. That's the newest hypnotic statement. Jesus was a Pharisee. Okay, do you know of any other?
Well, I'm sure there's.
Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was a Jew. That's the good one. What is another one? Because when you hear those phrases, you are taking it in subconsciously, and then you form your belief. And no matter how many facts you read or what the Bible says, you are going to repeat those phrases and then act upon them. Jesus was not a Jew. Jesus was a Judean, Galilean, Judean. He came with completely revolutionary statements and revolutionary faith in a Father who sent him. He said that Pharisees have a different father. He said, you are of your father, the devil, and the works of your father you shall do. He introduced completely new theology. He brought us New Testament, New Covenant, not based on old law, based on love, new law.
I'm watching YouTube block comments without even doing anything. That's funny, but I understand why on some of them. Go ahead.
Now, who is the light of the world? When you open your Bible to Gospels, Gospel of John, Gospel of Matthew, you can read letters in red where Jesus says, I am the light of the world. He is the light of the world. And when he promised, when he went to his Father, he said he's going to send us a helper that will be within us, Spirit that lives in you. He says him and his Father want to take dwelling inside of you, your heart, in you. You are the temple. And we can be that light, whoever is filled with that Spirit. And it doesn't matter, any nation, any tribe, any language, it doesn't matter. Another hypnotic statement is that I heard was that God is in a real estate business. Is God in a real estate business, Steve?
I don't know what the number is, if he is.
God is not in a real estate business. God is in a soul business. He's in a soul business. Okay, so I just wanted to point to your conscious mind and subconscious mind and how you have to use your conscious mind to actually form a belief in your subconscious mind, so you don't act upon those hypnotic statements, but rather you go and research it and fix them inside of your subconscious mind. Don't repeat them, but start speaking against it and explain the truth to the people. Because out of these pastures, that's all you're gonna hear. Those common statements that I just named. But anyway, so I'm ready, Steve. I mean, are you listening?
Okay. Yeah, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm also following comments.
Okay,
as a
here we go.
moderator.
Dr. Gabor Mate speaks. This is
Press.
really important that we would. I can't see. What do you want me to?
I'm trying to hit play.
This is one of the issues that's closest to my heart, and it has been for a long time. So, you know my history, I don't have to repeat it, but I'm personally a Holocaust survivor as an infant. I barely survived. My grandparents were killed in Auschwitz, and most of my extended family was killed. That's my personal background. I grew up ashamed of my Jewishness. In Hungary, after the war, I was still bullied for being Jewish. And I remember one of my friends coming to my rescue once saying, "Leave him alone, it's not his fault that he's Jewish." It's a fault, but it's not his fault. This was the defense. So I grew up with that. In my teenage years in Canada, I became a Zionist. This dream of the Jewish people resurrected in their historical homeland, and the barbed wire of Auschwitz being replaced by the boundaries of a Jewish state with a powerful army. I found it liberating. It was exhilarating to believe in that dream. And I absorbed all that perspective, all that point of view, and I really believed in it. And then I found out that it wasn't exactly like that. That in order to make this Jewish dream a reality, we had to visit a nightmare on the local population. You couldn't, there was a Zionist slogan called a land without a people for a people without a land. But there was no there was no land without a people. There was people living there who'd been living there for hundreds and years or even longer. As a matter of fact, if you want to hear something really interesting.
That's interesting.
And David Ben-Gurion, who was the first prime minister of Israel, actually subscribed to this. He said this, who are the Palestinians? Because the Jews in Roman times, all of them never left Palestine. Many of them stayed there. And some of them, hundreds of years later, converted to Islam. So guess who the Palestinians are? In some ways, they might be descendants of ancient Jews.
Wow.
They are cousins, to say the least, no matter how you look at it. And you know, and there's no way you could have ever created a Jewish state without oppressing and expelling the local population, which is what they did in 1947, beginning in 1947, and first of all with British Empire protection, you know, but they did this, and then in 1948, Israeli historians, Jewish Israeli historians, have shown without a doubt that the expulsion of the Palestinians was persistent, it was pervasive, it was cruel, it was murderous, and with deliberate attempt. So that's what's called the Nakba in Arabic, the disaster or the catastrophe. Now in Canada, there's a law that you cannot deny the Holocaust. I don't believe in such laws, by the way. But in Israel, you're not allowed to mention the Nakba, even though it was at the very basis of the foundation of the state. So once I became aware of all this, I was, okay, well, yeah, we created this beautiful dream, but we imposed a nightmare on somebody else. And then I visited the occupied territories, Russell, during the first Intifada. I cried every day for 2 weeks at what I saw. The brutality of the occupation, the petty harassment, the murderousness of it, the burning down of Palestinian or cutting down of Palestinian olive groves, the denial of water rights, the humiliations. And this went on, and it's much worse now than it was then. So this is the background. And it couldn't have been in any other way. Because again, you couldn't have created that exclusive Jewish state without oppressing or expelling the local population. It's the longest ethnic cleansing operation in the 20th and 21st centuries. It's still going on. And who are these people in Gaza? Now you have to go to Gaza. You have to go there to really appreciate it. It's a small area where there are these multiple hundreds of thousands of people. Who are those people? The direct children or grandchildren of the people that were expressed from Israel, or what is not Israel. Now here's the outrage. And I'd like your Zionist friend in the States to tell me this. I, as a Jew, I could land in Tel Aviv tomorrow and demand citizenship under the law of the right of return. But my Palestinian friend in Vancouver, Hannah Kawas, who was born in Jerusalem, can't even visit. So what sense does it? No, so who's Gaza? This desperate, blockaded. Let me stop again. Am I talking too long about this? I'm sorry. This is so important to me, and I know so much about it that I don't even know where to stop. So then you have these miserable people packed into this horrible. People call it the world's largest outdoor prison, which is what it is. Incredible poverty, 50% unemployment. Now Hamas is an Islamic organization that was originally encouraged by Israel and supported by Israel as a counterweight to the secular Palestine Liberation Organization, which Israel didn't want to deal with. And given those conditions, of course people will go for extremist leadership. That's what people do when they're miserable and hopeless and deprived of any possibility whatsoever. You don't have to support Hamas policies to stand up for Palestinian rights. That's a complete falsity. But there were free elections in Gaza, monitored by international community. They were declared to be the freest elections ever held in the Arab world. And Hamas happened to win. And when Hamas won that election, Israel and the United States immediately organized a military coup against them, which Hamas defeated, for which the punishment was this blockade that deprives Hamas of, not Hamas, but Gaza, of food, of medical supplies, of sufficient water. I could go on and on and on and on. And then you have this conflict. And then every time there's a conflict, Israel mows the lawn. That's the expression they use. You know what they call it? They call it mowing the lawn. By which they mean the mass murder of Palestinian civilians. Now, is it true that the Gazans shoot rockets into Israel, killing innocent civilians? Yes, it is. Do I support that? No, I don't. But when it comes to the death of innocent civilians, Israel killed 20,000 Lebanese civilians in 1982 using illegal weapons like cluster bombs in a war that had no justification whatsoever. I could go on and on and on and on, except I'll say that the disproportion of power and responsibility and oppression is so markedly on one side that if you take the worst thing you can say about Hamas, multiplied by 1,000 times, and it still will not meet the Israeli repression and killing and dispossession of Palestinians. Right. If after 2,000 years we can look for liberation and freedom, why can't the Palestinians? If you look at the Western press, when Hong Kong demonstrators throw stones at the police in Hong Kong, that's considered to be heroism in the American press. When in Myanmar, the demonstrators throw slingshots at the army, at the oppressive army, they're considered to be heroes in the Western press. When Palestinian kids throw stones at the Israeli soldiers, they're called terrorists. And Israel gets away with a lot more without much less criticism in the Western press than any other country. I'll say one more thing. I was recently contacted by a Palestinian woman from Jericho. She runs a program for Palestinian children who spend time in Israeli jails. 14, 15, 16-year-olds are jailed for months or years. Sometimes they can't see their families for months. And she runs a program for them. You know what she does? She meditates with them. She does Sufi dervish dancing with them, swirling dancing, to bring them out of their stress state. She says, we don't have post-traumatic stress disorder here because the trauma is never post. The trauma is daily, she said. I just wish your Zionist friend would visit the occupied territories in Gaza like I have, and let him speak the way he speaks now. If he's got any ounce of humanity left, he would cry like I did for 2 weeks when I was there. Now, we're not living in Nazi Germany. Anybody can go on YouTube and listen to Ilan Pappé, an Israeli historian, totally eloquent on Israeli history, who's living in England now because life became in Israel too difficult for him. Anybody can listen to Norman Finkelstein, a Jewish professor, world expert on Gaza, who was denied tenure at his university because of his public speaking against Israeli policy. You can listen to any number of Israeli Defense Forces soldiers who talk about the brutality that they now regret having committed. You can listen to Israeli pilots who talk about why they refuse to fly over Gaza because of the atrocities they're made to commit. You can get all the information you want. So if anybody these days doesn't know, it's not because the information is not available. It's not what you know, it's what you could know if you wanted to find out. There are no two sides. I mean, it's always a complex question, but in terms of power and control, and it's pretty straightforward. There was a land with the people living there, and other people wanted it. They took it over, and they continue to take it over, and they continue to discriminate against, oppress, and dispossess that other people. That's what happened, and that's what's happening.
Okay.
Let me just comment real quickly on
Sure.
this. In the teaching I did today, one of the scriptural points that I pointed out was the direct command that Moses gave the children of Israel when they were to come in to the very land they're in now. And he said to them then, and of course they weren't dealing with Palestinians, which, as this man here pointed out, many of them are crypto-Jews. They are from the original...
Not crypto, they're the real Jews.
Well, what I mean, that's what I'm talking about. In other words, they're the Jewish people from the dispersion of the Roman Empire because they were allowed to stay as farmers, etc. Mm-hmm. Moses, though, stated, do not oppress the stranger within your borders. Mm-hmm. Because you were oppressed under the Egyptians, and you know what it's like to be oppressed. Israel, the people that came to create the modern day Israeli state, came directly out of the Holocaust. Many of them had been prisoners inside of the death camps. Oddly enough, though, if you look at it, the leaders were not. They were well protected. They were bought for very high dollars to avoid Nazi concentration camps. $1,000 a head. Whereas at one point, according to the book Holocaust Victims Accused, this book here tells about the 800,000 Hungarian Jews that were being deported to Auschwitz, and how that they had negotiated for $15 a head to rescue every one of them. But the Jewish Congress in Europe refused to pay the sum. But later, for about 1,000 Jews, they paid $1,000 a head, and that included people like Moshe Sharit, Ben Gurion. I don't know for sure if Ben Gurion was in, but I believe Moshe Sharit, the first foreign minister of Israel, was in that group there. But some of those Holocaust victims that went to Israel, such as the Bielski family, where the movie Defiance is made after his heroism of rescuing Jews in Belarusia, nearly 1,000 Jews that he rescued, young and old alike. When he was there in Israel and the War of Independence was going to begin, his son, his oldest son, Michael Bielski, that shared with me the intimate side of the story of his father, that he was to guard a road going up to Jerusalem and to kill any Jew that dare even try to go up to take Jerusalem, because they'd already made an agreement with the Vatican not to touch Jerusalem at that time. He refused to fight in a war of independence that would require killing innocent Jews, and instead went to the United States. Michael was born in Israel, but this story, and I've always had a respect for his father, because he would not go along with the status quo of creating the state of Israel. I could only imagine what he would think about the expulsion of all these communities. Like I played for you the other day in one of our videos there, Sderot, how the little village of Sderot came into being. It originally was a Palestinian little city, and when the British were rounding up the fighters, the partisans, the Jewish partisans, to put them in prison, the Arabic community of Sderot protected them and hid them from the British so the British would not harm them. A year later, those same partisans came in and killed the Arabic community of what became later known as Sderot. And those that survived were expelled to Gaza. Every one of these communities along this area has a very similar story. I remember when I lived in Israel in 2004 during the Intifada, I had a friend of mine, we shared a house together up in northern Jerusalem. And he had been injured in the army in a Jeep accident. His family was from Beersheba, but he would come up and he would stay there at the house while he would go through therapy for long extended periods of time. And I'll never forget the first time he shared with me about how that they target practiced on Palestinians. At first I thought I misunderstood him. And I said, Iran. That was his name, Iran. I said, you did what? He said, oh yes, Steven, we target practice. Yeah, that's how we get better at shooting. We shoot Palestinians. And he said it as if it was just no big deal. I could not believe my own ears that I was hearing this. And that was my first inclination of what went on in the West Bank and in other areas as well. Like my wife would tell you, our one regret in life is that we didn't know what we know now, that when we were in Israel, that we would have visited the Palestinian areas and learned more about what goes on there.
Can I add to this?
Yes.
I made some notes while we were playing the video. And I wanted to, for my own sake, say that I have a great regret from the time we were visiting Israel, living there, we were serving in a ministry, Israeli News Live and Denun Institute of Biblical Research. And knowing now what I know, and not only now, I know it for quite a few years, my biggest regret is that we did not know what we know. That we embraced Zionist view, that we have preached Schofield doctrines. And when we had blessing to be in Israel, instead of going to see Palestinian territories and report to you live what was happening in Gaza, West Bank, instead of us going personally to go and check it out, we just believed.
We believe the mainstream narrative.
Yes, the mainstream narrative. So that's our regret, and we cannot go back. We can't go back there for you right now to do that, because they don't welcome Steve and me in Israel no more. But I want to also make a statement about how disappointed I am that Christians in this country were standing with oppressors and are standing with oppressors. Palestinians don't have proper medical care. In Gaza and West Bank, they don't have water. Children are suffering with enormous parasitic infections because they don't have access to medical care as other children in the world have. And all of this is done in the name of prophecy. The humiliations that are going on in Gaza and West Bank, I'm going to open up very soon a website called Breaking the Silence, and I will ask Steve to read you of several short, just little testimonies, and then I will trust that you are going to visit this website. And then you're going to go and see and hear for yourself testimony of Israeli soldiers. What are they made to do to these people? So us as Christians, how could we live and support this? How could we do that? The words of Jesus come to mind when it's time of reckoning, and we will all say, didn't we prophesy in your name? Didn't we do all this for you, Jesus? And he's going to say, I never knew you, because you are workers of lawlessness. We as Christians cannot oppress or stand with oppressors. And I don't care that they are Muslims. Some of them are Christian Palestinians, and they have the same treatment just based on their race, just based on the fact that they are Arabs. This is a racial apartheid state. Israel is. And all of this was allowed in the name of biblical prophecy. So my statement to Zionist Christians is this: you better make sure that you interpret those doctrines properly. You better sit down now and make sure that what you say is true, because time of reckoning is coming, and you will stand before Christ. Okay, over here I prepared this is our website, israelinewslive.org, and Steve mentioned book, what was the book he mentioned? By Moshe Schoenfeld, Holocaust Victims Accused. This book is out of print. It's illegal in Israel. It's illegal.
Yet it's written by rabbis.
It's written by Jews, by rabbis.
And the testimonies are all just like the Orthodox rabbis in the West.
Yes, in our website, Israeli News Live, in the article, Israelis complain the government is fascist. I wrote that article, and I gave you the link here to a free copy of the book. The Holocaust Victims Accused.
Still available. I totally forgot about that. Oh my gosh.
And you're welcome to print it out, and please just read it for yourself, okay?
Print it out. Because believe me, the more we start to make a fuss, the sooner that book will disappear.
Also, I want to talk to you about my Odyssey channel that, lately I will be posting a lot more on there, and I am posting, but this is the video. The single most dangerous thing to all humanity is the Jewish kingdom that they're building, and Christians are helping them. This is the most dangerous thing for you and your children that's happening right now as we speak.
Sometimes there's words you got to avoid saying.
And I'm always bring my husband to trouble, but that's why
once and it'll be over.
That's why I have Odyssey channel. So please sign up over there.
Best thing to do is just say read the title off the screen.
Yes. Okay, and now let's go to humiliations that we mentioned. Well, first of all, while we were speaking about what we should know from our own history, can you ask Zionist pastors if they know who Rachel Corrie is? Because we never got justice for her in this country. Can you explain who she is? It's a
Rachel Corrie. This is the young woman that came and was an activist for Palestinians, and because their homes would be destroyed. And most of the time when they're being destroyed, it could be some family member had did some type of act against the Israeli government, and a lot of times it is considered a terrorist attack or a bombing or whatever the case may be. I don't know how minor the infractions can get before they determine they're going to tear a house down. But a lot of times, though, the person that committed the crime is not the owner of the house. It's just a family member. And because they're a family member, the family pays the price for whatever happened.
But what did they commit? Throw rock at
I have no idea. That's the whole thing. You don't know exactly
Mostly
what
they
happens.
didn't commit anything.
So in this case here, this young lady here in her 20s, she stood in front of the bulldozer to try to protect the Palestinian home from being destroyed, and the bulldozer operator just killed her instead.
23-year-old American activist stands in front of an Israeli bulldozer in Gaza.
Can I hear?
March 16th, 2003. The bulldozer drives over her, crushing her to death. These are the facts. Corrie, along with colleagues from International Solidarity Movement, was trying to prevent Israel from bulldozing homes in Rafah. She paid the ultimate price. An Israeli investigation took 1 month and found no Israeli soldier was to blame, stating the armoured bulldozer crew involved in the incident did not see Miss Corrie, who was standing behind the mound of earth and was unable to see her or hear her voice. But the military has not identified the driver of the bulldozer or made their investigation available to the US government.
Wow.
Cindy and Craig Corrie have waited 7 years to find out what happened to their daughter and to bring Israel to account. They're taking the Defense Ministry to court in a civil suit.
It appears to me the more that we found out, the more likely that there was, that the killing was intentional, or at least incredibly reckless. And as a former soldier, I was even in charge of bulldozers in Vietnam. They weren't these big, heavy D9s with armor on them, and I was out in the jungle. But you're responsible to know what's in front of that blade, and I believe they did.
Rachel's parents are proud of what their daughter did, recalling how important it was to her to try and help Palestinian families in Gaza.
There are just countless ways in which these children are experiencing incredibly difficult things, and I want to support them.
She deserves the attention that she's receiving in this case. Every human being who is assaulted and whose life is taken in this way deserves some accountability, some explanation for why this happened, particularly when it's done by a military, and in this case by a military that is supported by my tax dollars.
She was a young person who came to Gaza to express sympathy with the people of Gaza, and the Palestinian people and the international humanity are looking to the memory of Rachel Corrie as a symbol of young person who was killed.
Paula Hancock's CNN, Haifa, Israel.
Okay. I can certainly understand when you get no justice what it feels like. But anyway, let's move on to another thing that I prepared here. Israel's automated occupation, Hebron, this is something that we would like to leave you a link for, because this is the examination how Israel is using AI powered surveillance in Hebron on the Palestinians. What an incredible technology they have that's so oppressive, and they're using that on Palestinian people. So how would you feel for a government that would do that to you, right? But that's...
Before you go into that, Elizabeth has texted and people are asking, you made the statement that Jesus is not a Jew, and people are asking, they're saying David was a Jew and that Jesus was.
Okay. What I'm saying, Jesus is not Jew. What is a Jew? What is understanding by Jew? when you say Jesus
well,
was a Jew.
in that regards there, I think what Jana's more speaking about is what we look at modern day Judaism. Whereas right
Exactly.
now, everybody says that people are like they're saying it's a Jewish state. Jesus was
an ancient Israelite. That's who he was, who came through the ancient Israelites,
right.
And he was from the part of Judea. He was a Judean.
He is from the tribe of Judah.
Tribe of Judah, okay, but he was not a Jew, because if you are going to define what Jew is today, and then you say a statement that Jesus was a Jew in the mind of today's Christian, it brings up a picture of Orthodox Jews today.
Well, let me clarify a little further. It's also because in most circles of Jewish scholars that are trying to make Jesus more Jewish now as a result of their defending or to relabel him, they're also trying to remove him as being the Messiah. They want to Judaize him, which is to make him more of a Talmudist, and that he was, like Jana mentioned earlier, they even try to say he was a Pharisee, which is totally the furthest thing from the truth of anything. So, was he of the tribe of Judah? Yes, there's no doubt about that.
Yes, but you have to understand, when you say Jesus was a Jew, it's a hypnotic statement to your subconscious mind to support the state of Israel and Orthodox Jews. So you're going to support Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, and all these Talmudic dictatorship and Talmudist Jews based on the fact, oh, Jesus was a Jew, we have to support the Jews because Jesus was a Jew. Did you see first of all, let's find proper vocabulary. Jesus was an ancient Israelite of the tribe of Judah, and that's very important today due to the hypnotism that I explained just right now, because what is happening, this great misinformation and false doctrines that Christians are supporting the state of Israel, even though they've been told that the far-right government is installing religious Talmudic dictatorship. When you say a Jew today, you're talking about Judaism. What is Judaism? Judaism is Talmudism. Was Jesus Talmudist? Absolutely not. So the statement Jesus was a Jew is a hypnotic statement to gain you to support the Jews. And you just heard what the leader of Temple Institute, the rabbi, said, that Christians ought to worship not one Jew, but all of the Jews, because they're dying for us every day. So that was my point, that Jesus was not a Jew. Let's start a new vocabulary that will be more friendly to the truth. Because of the fact I was speaking about hypnotism that's used today. Anyway, let's go back to the times of Israel. Steve talked about humiliations of Palestinians on a regular basis for decades and decades. Report of IDF strip searching Palestinian women causes uproar. This is going on constantly. When you go and research, they're stripping them naked in front of their family members, like mother naked in front of son. They take Palestinian men out of a car when they're going through checkpoint, beat him in front of his children and wife, strip him naked. Okay, so they're committing atrocities to these people for decades. And Christians are supporting this. And I'm just angry that I wasn't aware of none of that. And why are we not aware? And I believe that if we were aware of these atrocities, not just these, but many others, I don't believe that Christians of America would be supporting this. The problem is here education. Knowledge is the problem. And who is responsible? Theological seminaries, Scofield Bible, false interpretations of prophecies, false doctrines, and pastors, leaders of churches, and then people who allow themselves to be hypnotized by false statements such as Jesus was a Jew. Okay, so I also want to go to this That's my last thing that I have prepared for you.
It's at the top.
Oh, okay. This is Breaking the Silence. This is on the testimonies. You can check out entire website. These are IDF soldiers. So if anybody says, oh, you hate Israel, no, we love Israel. We love Israeli people. But Israeli people are telling you, they are telling the pastors of this country what is going on in their own country. And when somebody says a statement, we love the Jewish people, do they truly love the Jewish people, or they love the elites of the Jews, the leadership and the rabbis, because that's all they love, that's all they speak about is propaganda. They don't care for the feelings of actual Jewish people in Israel. The Jewish people in Israel protested Ben Gvir and Netanyahu's far-right coalition. Did any pastor tell you about it? You know what? In fact, Pastor Paul Begley was in Israel during those demonstrations. He was right there. Not one time did he show you one demonstration and explain to you why they're going on. Did he go and ask the Jewish people he claims he loves, why are you protesting? What are you so unhappy about? Not once. He only showed you Yehuda Glick. That's right. So we love the Jewish people. It's Steve and I and brother Chuck, Baldwin, and True News. Those are the true lovers of the Jewish people because we care for their fate. Well, maybe I shouldn't use the word fate, but you know what I mean. We care for them. And we care, and we hear what their cries out to us, not the voices of rabbis and Talmudic dictatorship, and Netanyahu is a globalist elite. Anyway, Steve, I wanted you to read some of the little testimonies, just pick any random ones. These are all soldiers speaking, and then I will end my rant. I don't know
We can be good kids on our best behavior, but even then, a D9 will show up and flatten the house. In regards to...
Oh, it's long? Okay. But anyway, you don't have to read it off. Some are shorter than others. These are just the basic little testimonies of atrocities, and there are thousands of them posted by Jewish people.
I can read this one here. A crazy urge to run over a car. During the entire operation, the tank drivers had this thing of wanting to run over cars because the driver, he can't fire. He doesn't have any weapon. He doesn't get to experience the fun in its entirety. He just drives forward, backward, right, left, and they had this sort of crazy urge to run over a car. I mean, a car that's in the street, a Palestinian car. Obviously, there was one time that my tank's driver, a slightly hyperactive guy, managed to convince the tank officer to run over a car. And it was really not that exciting. You don't even notice you're going over a car. You don't feel anything. We just said on the two-way radio, we ran over the car. How was it? It was cool, but we really didn't feel anything. And then our driver got out and came back a few minutes later. He wanted to see what happened, and it turned out he had ran over just half the car, and the other half stayed intact. So he came back in right then. The officer had just gone out of something, so he sort of whispered to me in the earphones, I scored some sunglasses from the car. And after that, he went over and told the officer about it too. That moron, the officer scolded him. What? How could you do such a thing? I'm considering punishing you, but in the end, nothing happened. He kept the sunglasses and he wasn't too harshly scolded. It was all okay. And it turned out that a few of the other company tanks ran over cars too. So
these are just little atrocities. They're making fun of Palestinians destroying their property, and it's not a big deal because they're treating them as animals.
Right, and the bad thing, the thing is, buying a car in Israel, period, is expensive. If you ever live there, or the taxes that you have to pay on it is unimaginable. You can't even imagine how crazy it is. All right, so, but the thing is, let me just see what this one is here.
I read several of them, and I just encourage you to go and get familiar with everything that's happening around these particular questions of Palestinians and Israelis. And what needs to happen in this nation is a repentance. We have to come together and we need to repent for supporting the oppressors. And I'm not supporting what Hamas did to innocent Israelis, but it was Israeli government that did this, ultimately. They're causing this. Never forget that Hamas leaders come to Israel as friends and are treated in the best Israeli hospitals. How can that be? How can that be? There is so much questions unanswered. And use your logic, use your God-given conscious mind for the facts, gather the facts, and then feed your unconscious mind what you're going to believe. Because this is leading us, our nation, to destruction, and ultimate destruction, because there will be judgment over this. And Bible does teach that whatever you sow, you shall reap. So let us be careful so we are not treated this way, same way as Palestinians. After all, remember, our own police force was trained by Israelis, and they were practicing on Palestinians. So in other words, how Israelis treat Palestinians, they were teaching our policemen how to deal with us. So there was one of the police chief's son, what was his name? Eran Efrati is his name. You should know that name as well and look it up. Eran Efrati, who came to United States, and he was going from one university to the next. He is a son of chief police of Jerusalem, who came to warn American people that they are teaching American police how to deal with us, the people. And the techniques that they're teaching them are the ones that they use on Palestinians. So pastors, Zionist pastors of this country are going to bring us to complete destruction. Horror. You know, but anyway.
Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. In the future, you're going to probably be seeing, if we do more of the live broadcasts, they'll end up being over on other channels that we have, Jana's channel Odyssey, as well as iConnectFX.com. There is some type of program that I'll be using that will allow it to run simultaneously. So Jana's channel is odyssey.com/@Israeli News Live : and then the letter A. That's how you get to it. Or if you just go to Odyssey and type in Israeli News Live, you can find her channel easily there. Of course, iConnectFX.com, same thing. Just type in Israeli News Live. It'll bring you to the channel. This is where we're going to have to be doing live broadcasts, because a lot of the verbiage that we use here in this broadcast here will shut this channel down. So we're going to have to make that live broadcast in these other areas rather than where we are now. And then what we can do is we can load clips up, or we can take and pre-record where we're a little bit safer, making sure that we don't use verbiage. We can still talk about the information. It's just the key words that we use have to be kind of altered so that you know what we're talking about without saying certain words that cause the prying ears out there to listen. And we know they're listening because I'm watching them ban your comments left and right. And I see the type comments they're banning, so I know good and well they're listening to what we're saying as well. And they're looking for that excuse just to be able to cut this channel off. I'm Steven Banu with my wife Jana. Have a great evening, and God bless you. No, let me grab it here because that's not